XRP, we have 3 days left until the monthly candle closes. The question is, can it close above that black line, above 61 and a half cents? We have this black line represents the swing high monthly close. If we can close above that line, we will then have a brand new monthly close swing high, which means we haven't had a monthly close high since going all the way back to July of last year, which is pretty significant. So, which, by the way, to me is really an anomaly because of that Judge Torres ruling. But essentially, this candle here is the monthly high we definitely need to get above. But as of now, the highest monthly close since that close was the month of December. And, so we need to really get above it. We have 3 days left. The question is, can we do it? So if I zoom in, let's zoom in to the daily chart. So if we look at the daily chart, basically there are our two black lines. The first one representing the monthly close, the previous swing high monthly close, and the upper black line represents the July 2023 Judge Torres ruling monthly close. So we are pretty dangerously close. Right now we are approximately not even 1.5% away. So we're right there. So let's see what happens. I think we have a really good potential for doing it. What is really critical about the month of March is that the last day of the week ends on Sunday, right? Obviously, and then but also the last day of the month ends on Sunday. So we're going to have a weekly close this Sunday and also a monthly close this Sunday. So, it shall be interesting. Let's look at the weekly chart and see if we can see anything interesting. So far, nothing too interesting, just sideways consolidation. I would say what would be really cool to see is if we can at least close above last week's close. So this was our last week candle right in here. And that close was about 63.2 cents. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if we can get above that. Other than that, we are simply doing what the rest of the market is doing, which is this down move that we had is simply being retraced. And we are right in the middle of these retracement levels. To me, it is actually pretty bullish. Given the fact that it is continuing, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks of continuing to be in the retracement level. It's showing some strength. Now, we don't want too much time to go by or it'll show weakness. The part where it comes into the strength is that these 5 candles, these 5 weekly candles, are holding above the bull market support band, which is very important. You can see over here we were holding above it, but we fell back down to the downside. So the fact that we got back above it, you can see here, right? We got above it. We couldn't hold. We broke below. But here's the part, and you can say, well, it's not really that significant because we're doing the same thing as over here. But here's the part that is cool. We had a low down here. We came up. We held above for a few weeks. We came back down below. But the part that's cool is we came and made a higher low. Not only that, then we came back right back above the bull market support band, continuing to hold support. So to me, it's acting pretty much like it wants to break out at some point. The reason I say that is because, you have your resistance up here, obviously, right? And we can see the price, sort of cupping into the resistance, right? Strong resistance, cupping into the resistance, cupping into the resistance. So it's basically like trying to knock on the door, knock on the door, knock on the door, knock on the door. Eventually, this door is going to break. Now, you can see also what is very interesting to me is we have this entire move is not coming off of a bear market. It is coming off a retracement, right? Remember, XRP is unlike any other coin out there. Not the coin, but the chart, right? The chart says that XRP did not break into a new bull run like Bitcoin did and all the rest of the market. Instead, it went into a retracement. Why is that important? Because the entire time going back from 2017 or 2018, it has been in one giant correction, which is essentially it's been in a bear market this entire time. So it hasn't had a bull run, right? People can blame the lawsuit, but to me that lawsuit was a blessing in disguise because it allowed the price not to go into a bull run, but rather into a retracement. You say, well, why is that good? Because following the retracement, we came back down, we made a higher low. Here's our low. We made a higher low, but the important part is following that higher low, we went sideways. And why is that important? Because following the retracement, you go down into reaccumulation. Well, why is that important? Because if you look back over here on XRP, right? Because the whole point of it, right, is getting a major bull run, right? How do you get a major bull run? Well, like going back to the previous cycle, we had a rise, a crash, a retracement, right? You can see here, XRP didn't go off into a new bull run. It only went into a retracement. Then it came back down. It made a higher low, and then it went sideways into reaccumulation. What happened once it was done going sideways? We had a massive explosion. So if you fast forward to today, look at what's happening now. Sort of a side-by-side comparison. You can see that same accumulation, just like back over here, following this retracement, right? Following the retracement, following the bear market, and the bull run, right? So, the question becomes, when do we get something like this? Well, I would suspect at some point very soon, because number one, we've been going for an incredible amount of time in this sideways base, but more importantly, we have Bitcoin at an all-time high. But what I really wanted to show you, and I'll show you just in a moment, but look at the all-time high on the 2-week chart. We can see the chart. Actually, let's go to the weekly chart. We can see that this chart is going to close potentially above this wick. And if it does that, then that would be the highest weekly close Bitcoin has ever had in the history of Bitcoin. And why is that important? Because that means we probably will have continuation at some point. That doesn't mean we can't have a correction. Usually when Bitcoin gets to the all-time high, it likes to have some type of correction. Maybe it's big, maybe it's small, maybe it comes back down to the bull market support band. The point is, once it's done on the bigger picture and we continue higher, right? Potentially, because you don't know for sure, but it's looking like potentially we're going to continue pushing on up. And once that's the case, then you get something very interesting in the altcoins. But what I wanted to show you is look at this right here. If you go back in 2015, 2016, you could see what Bitcoin did. It came down, it came all the way down, right? It built this base down at the bottom. So here's your base, right? You went sideways, you broke out, you developed another base, okay? And then this base, look where it's at. It's right at about the bull market support band. And you can see not only it's down by the bull market support band, but look at this. You have an A, B, C, D, and an E. And here was E right at the bull market support band. Then you had this impulse to the upside, you flagged out, and then bam, you broke above that second base, and then it was off to the races. Well, guess what? Check out XRP. Check this out. We have this move to the downside. We developed our base, our first base right here, right? And what happened was we eventually broke above that base. So we developed our first base, and then we broke above. Then we created a second base that was sort of back testing the previous base. Not perfectly, but still it is definitely counted. So it's looking a lot like Bitcoin so far, right? Well, look at this. We're on our second base, just like with Bitcoin I just showed you, but look at this. We also are above the bull market support band, just how Bitcoin was doing, right? It's almost like a fractal where it sort of went like this, it puffed up, it bull flagged out, and then it broke out. Not to say it's going to do it that quickly or anything like that, but you can see remarkable similarities. But that's not all. Check this out. Just like how Bitcoin had a contracting triangle, remember, A, B, C, D, E, we also have that with XRP. You have an A, B, C, D, and now we're in that final E wave. But here's the cool part. Going back to Bitcoin, here's our second base, right? Here's our first one. We broke out. Here's our second base. Look at the second base. It's the same kind of thing. We had an A, B, C, D, and E. Okay, now focus on E. Look where E's at. It's right above the bull market support band. And it was above there for, let's say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks. So it was about 2 months. It was actually pretty big. Now, and then, as soon as we completed that, above the bull market support band, boom, we broke out. So going back to XRP, you can see the striking similarities, right? We have this move to the downside, we have our base going sideways. The bigger the base, the higher in space, right? We pump up, we break out of the base, then we go sideways again. We're building layers in the foundations of support that's eventually going to be much needed as we continue breaking out. Because if you look at XRP on the grand macro chart, we have the biggest base in crypto history. I mean, look at this thing. This thing is a 6-year base. No other chart on planet Earth involving crypto, involving the top 10, has a chart that looks like this. Not only that, it has incredible ammunition. What type of ammunition? We have the lawsuit, right? The lawsuit was the best thing that ever happened, because basically I look at the lawsuit like a job interview, basically a resume. You can see that the government, which is corrupt as it is, totally went overboard with this case. But the cool thing about it is they vetted Ripple up and down like never before. Which means what? Which means Ripple, the company, is the most vetted crypto company basically on planet Earth. So that is important, because that showcases to the big institutions and things like that, like, hey, this is a validated, thorough, well-vetted company. Maybe that's on purpose to assume a future role, wink, 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 right? Maybe, maybe not. But the important thing is, all of this developed a massive base, okay? And this base is going to be very important because it's the same thing as this base down here, right? So look at these two bases that we were talking about. We had a base, we broke out. What do you think is going to happen the next time? What is symmetry telling you? Sideways, breakout. Sideways, breakout, right? So going back to our little example here, right? And then comparing that with a proven chart, which is Bitcoin, you can see the same thing. We have an A, B, C, D, and then E, these weekly candles above the bull market support band on the second base. Same thing here. Here's Bitcoin, right? Here's our second base. Let's zoom in. You have an A, B, C, D, and then E, which are these candles on the bull market support band. So what do you guys think? So, I think it's very bullish. Now, following this breakout above this range, Bitcoin then went to go up about 4,000%. So nearly 4,000%. So if we went back to XRP, don't you think it can at least get 1,000%, right? So let's say XRP breaks out sometime in April or May. If we go up 1,000%, that's only $10. Okay, Bitcoin went up 4,000%. So if we go up another 2,000%, that's about $18. If we go up 3,000%, that's about $26, $27. If we go up 4,000%, that is about $34. So I'm not saying it's going to get that high. But if Bitcoin, following its second range, went up 4,000%, at least XRP can go up 1,000%. Now, people can argue market cap and things like that, but understand Bitcoin, when Bitcoin broke above its range that I was talking about, it was only a $7 billion market cap. Now, XRP is currently a $34.2 billion market cap, and that's okay. So if we put on a Fibonacci extension from the all-time high down to the swing low, it gets us between $8 and $13. So on market cap perspective, that's about 327 billion up to about 520 billion. Now that would rival sort of Ethereum's market cap currently where it stands now, which is not nearly that much, but it's about $428 billion. That would put XRP around the 3.414, about $425 billion. And people say that's impossible. XRP can never pass Ethereum. But understand, if XRP gets to this level, surely Ethereum will be much higher than that. And remember, XRP is the only altcoin to have ever, at its point in its life, dethroned Ethereum. So XRP has been in the number 2 position, not very long, but it has done it before. So just something to keep an eye on. Now, when you look at the other ideas, right, I've been mentioning here, we can see that once this reaccumulation phase is complete, just like how this reaccumulation phase down here completed, we got a significant impulse to the upside. So the question is, with Bitcoin at around its all-time high and a continuation, what does it look like for XRP when that day comes? You can see the price of Bitcoin all-time high here, and here's the price of XRP down here. The moment Bitcoin broke above its all-time high, it pulled back. then it continued a little bit higher. Then once it had that full conviction breakout, look what the price of XRP did. It started gaining a lot of momentum. But prior to that, you can see this pretty big breakout candle down here, which reflected the price of Bitcoin supporting above the bull market support band. The difference here now is the fact that if you go to the current price of Bitcoin, we are pretty far away from the bull market support band. So it leaves me to wonder, do we have a correction back down and we spend some time in here before breaking out? And then once we get that, we can see that massive XRP pump? Or do we simply drag on a little bit before continuing higher, and then we get that XRP massive breakout? But here's the thing. The important part is basically complete, which is the break of the all-time high, which we clearly got. So now it begs the question, what happens with XRP? Because you can see very striking similarities from the Bitcoin perspective of the fractal, from the XRP perspective, from it building upon two ranges, two accumulation ranges, and this Elliott wave triangle. And then not only that, we can see rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways breakout, right? Rise, crash, reaccumulation, sideways. Do we get that breakout? So, and then we also have A, B, C, D, E following, and then the big breakout. And then we also, on a bigger scale, have the A, B, C, D, and E. And what's interesting about the E wave is that we potentially have in the E wave can also be another contracting triangle, A, B, C, D, E, which makes up this last E wave, which is the same type of E wave that we had down here. Not a contracting triangle, more of a Wyckoff liquidity grab, but the same thing applies. So we can see week after week after week, we are holding above the bull market support band. That's exactly what we wanted to see. And then not only that, we see this cup, we see another cup, and you can say that this is a cup and a handle, right? Here's your neckline. What we really want to see is a weekly close above this level right here, which happens to be about 66 cents. So if we can get a weekly close, we haven't had a weekly close above 66 cents since going back last summer, and that was only because of that Judge Torres ruling. So the highest weekly close we've had in recent time was that 66 cent mark. So it won't take much to get that. So this is what I'll say is once we break and close above that line on a weekly scale, then for me the measured move going wick to the line would be approximately back to that 95 cent level, or back to this prior swing high of this wick right in here, right? And then once we close above this level on a weekly scale, then it's going to look more and more likely that we're going to get right back up to this level of $1.33. So $1.30 could potentially be in the cards within perhaps the next 90 days. So we'll see how that plays out. But for now, we continue to consolidate bullishly. We have Bitcoin still above its previous all-time high, or at or around it, consolidating. And then we also have reaccumulation, right? We have a low, we have a higher low. Another thing I would definitely keep an eye on is the downward resistance line. And here's the last thing I'll say. The 3-month candle is about to end, ladies and gentlemen. The 3-month candle. Okay? So once that candle ends, it'll be interesting to see. We only have, less than 3 days left. It'll be interesting to see if we can stay above this line, which we did. Because if you go back, this 3-month candle, without going through the bodies, right? You can go through the wicks, you just can't go through the bodies of the candles. Now, for me, I like to be a little more conservative and go a little bit higher. But just for the body's sake, if I line it up just like that, you can see, look at this, ladies and gentlemen, look at this right here. We are literally approaching the breakout. We are teetering between life and death. Not literally, but it is so interesting to me to see that this 3-month, or this, I should say, quarterly candle, right? This is the quarterly candle. Extremely important, right? We have 4 quarters in a year. This is the first quarter candle. Super important. So, right now, if it were to close where it is, it would be technically a breakout of this downward resistance line. So what's interesting to me is if we get this close, I would like it, honestly, I would like it to close a little bit higher. I would love to see it close at least above 65 cents. So somewhere like that. If we can get a candle close like that, let me make it green. And then you zoom out. We have a clear break above the downward resistance line following rise, crash, retrace, following the reaccumulation down in here, right? Here's our first range, here's our second range. Our second range is breaking above the downward resistance line. It looks very similar to that of Bitcoin. So things are lining up. And then also when you zoom all the way out, what do you see? You see a massive cup. Here's your resistance. You're cupping into the resistance. You're cupping into you got a cup and handle. And you're breaking it right now. And not only that, next month is April, which happens to be one of the most potentially bullish months for crypto. Usually it's between October and December. And then also, during spring. So will we get a big spring breakout? If you go back to the last time XRP had that big explosion, it happened in winter, right? But look at the following. This is a 3-month candle, so the first month right here. But look at this giant candle right here. This happened in April. So the first candle. So check this out. This is very interesting. Here's the downward resistance line. The first quarter candle is the one that broke above the downward resistance line. The second candle was the monster follow-through continuation candle, right? So if you go back over here, obviously that first candle isn't as beautiful as this other candle. But keep in mind it is on log scale. And also, definitely different times we're in. But still, technically, we have this quarterly candle potentially ending above the downward resistance line. And, which is important. But what's more important is the follow-through candle, which is kind of like a God candle. Maybe we get that, right? So, interesting times for sure. And then one other thing I would say is look at this chart. I just zoom out here. You can see a bullish pennant, right? We break out and then we create another bullish pennant. But look where we are in the pennant. We are literally coming into the apex of this pennant. So we don't have much room left. So either we're going to have a big break to the downside, or in my opinion, a monster move to the upside. So that'll do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I appreciate everybody. Please consider liking the video and sharing it. I don't ask often to share the video, but it would be amazing if you can share this video. I think this is one of my more dedicated, detailed XRP videos, and yeah, and then also leave a comment, and I do a rapid fire session once a week, and if there's a coin you want me to take a look at, drop it in the comment section, and subscribe if you haven't already. And then also, if you want to support the channel and support my work, there's always a tip jar at the end of each video. I got 4 addresses on the screen, so yeah, that would be extremely appreciative. So anyways, I will catch you guys on the next one. Let me know what you guys think about where you believe XRP is and where you think it's going based off information you've learned and other people's opinions, because it's not about one person's opinion. It's about everybody formulating their own based off your own research. So this is what I've concluded in technical analysis. Tell me what you've concluded. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Anyways, take care. Cheers.